Good morning, everyone. It's your girls at Obscure Orations here, Taylor and Miss Dana. So today we're starting off this month with Pride Month. We're actually on point. It's June 1st. Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride World.
I am literally wearing the most gay outfit that I could put together this morning, where it's like, okay, here's my flannel.
And I'm wearing flannel plaid in what do you call that?
Support.
It's sport. Yes, thank you. Words.
Who needs those damn word things, anyways? I also have on my little, and I don't know if you can actually see it, but my little gay earrings with their little rainbows.
Oh,
Got
you
that. Got my
go,
little.
girl.
I say, got my fedora. I got it all. I'm ready. Just missing the undercut. Maybe that little like shaving the eyebrow, but I don't. I don't get the kid. I feel old, but I'm like, I don't get what the kids are doing with that little shave in their eyebrow moment.
I have that naturally because I have a scar. The hair doesn't grow over the
Yeah, I was
scar.
gonna say, for me, it's the scar. I have a scar on. I think it's my left eye. It could be my right one. I never remember, but I have a scar. It's just not actually
In the hair.
stopping the hair. It's just like it grows just over it. Like you'd never even know. So we're gonna have an awesome time today because I mean, obviously, I'm an amazing gay person. I'm so cool. Uh
My
but
brother is an amazing gay person.
yes, he is, and just in the other room, weirdly enough, his gay energy is coming to you.
He'll be back later. Like he may not be here anymore, but he'll be back later because we're gonna play cards tonight. It's a
There
totally
we
gay
go.
thing to do, right?
I was just gonna say that's you know what he'll add some sprinkles to it and be like, there you go, bam, like Emerald, bam.
Bam.
All right. So Dana's actually going to start us off with some history about pride and about being gay and all that fun stuff. I'm going to add in some random factoids here and there that I have, and then I'm also going to do some local to us gay history.
Okay, so first of all, I got my reading glasses on because yes, I have to read from my notes this week. There is so much information. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. The stuff I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Being being a friend of the family, I did not know this stuff, so it was mind-boggling. Yet I feel like quite knowledgeable now.
I would say you're kind of. It's like
Smarter.
you're. I was going to say you're smarter and you're what's the term you're enlightened now. Like you
Yes.
have the knowledge, and I think part of the reason why I wanted to get like some like even like I said at the pre-show, where I have some little factoids about it, where I have random knowledge about things, and it's just I'm going to sound like a 90-year-old lesbian right now with a hunchback going, I remember in the day, but it makes me sad that there's not enough gay knowledge out there in the sense of like even within the gay community, a lot of them don't know our heritage, so to speak. Or it's like, okay, this is what happened. This is what kind of brought about this. This is what the like you going over the flag shortly. Here's all of them. This is what they each kind of mean. Like all that kind of stuff. There's little pockets where you pick up little tidbits and all that, but there's never
Right.
really a full congruent thought of here's our history. This is what brought us to this point.
Right. And to be honest, even Wikipedia didn't have everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm married to an IT person, so I now know how to super sleuth on the internet. And it
That's
it
what you do.
was it was for me, it was finding like the certain websites to go to
Mm-hmm.
that would tell me information. So, on that note,
Dun, dun,
happy
dun.
Pride Month. So, first of all, when we say Happy Pride Month, what are we saying Happy Pride Month to? And this is the official official meaning of pride. So what pride is, it commemorates years of struggle for civil rights and the ongoing pursuit of equal justice under the law for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer communities, as well as the accomplishments of the LGBTQAI2S individuals. So does that sound
I would say,
right
yeah,
about
that's, I would say, I think that's probably the most, like, I mean, it's changed over the years, obviously, the verbiage of it, but that is probably the best, most accurate to the point. Like, this is what pride is. Be
right?
proud of who you are. Crap, what's the saying? Proud and out loud.
Right. So this annual recognition thing
Mm-hmm.
provides an opportunity for the community to acknowledge triumphs and setbacks
Mm-hmm.
within their community that have happened in the last year. And
Just saying, looking at you,
my
United
apologies
States.
to our US listeners.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have taken so many jumps backwards. It's not even funny. Like you're back in 1969 and Stonewall's about to happen all
Mm-hmm.
over again. And we're gonna talk about Stonewall in a minute. So Pride Month is normally marked with marches, parades, festivities, and remembrances held throughout the month,
Mm-hmm.
typically ending on June 28th, which is the anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising in New York City, which happened June 28th, 1969.
Yep.
So, what happened?
Well,
Well,
what happened
like,
was.
why June? You got 11 other months you could pick, but why June? So, in the late 60s, being gay was outlawed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not outlawed, it was largely prohibited in most places. New York, in particular, had a role that the simple presence of gay men was disorderly conduct.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else, because they arrested people, like they arrested men if they looked gay and charged them with disorderly conduct.
Yeah, and it was basically, in terms of kind of comparing it and thinking of it in like a historical-ish kind of reference, would be, think of the Salem witch trials, the witch hunts in Scotland, and in England, all that kind of stuff. It was, even if the person wasn't actually considered a witch or considered gay, all you had to do was point to your neighbor and go, "He's gay,"
Yeah.
and he could have a wife, 10 kids, have a girl on the side and another side chick and another side dish after that. And if all you had to do was say, "Oh, I saw him make eyes at the mailman," and and it was like, "All right, well, he's arrested for disorderly conduct," or I'm trying to remember what it was that they used back in England, and I can't think of the charge, but it was another up there kind of charge where it's like, "Oh, well, you're gay. That's not okay at all."
Yeah. So this bullshit of disorderly conduct towards gay men just because they look gay effectively outlawed gay bars in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's jump ahead to June 28th, 1969, which is known as the birth of the Pride movement. And how it happened was a patron at the Stonewall Inn, which was an establishment in New York,
Mm-hmm.
um, that catered to the alternate lifestyles,
Yep.
because that's what the history says, the alternate lifestyles. Um, they stood their ground after the police tried to shut the place down, and it resulted in giant clashes.
Oh yeah, clashes of epic
Giant
proportions.
I'm talking days
Mm-hmm.
of riots and protests, and it is now known as the Stonewall Uprising. That's why the month of June.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew. I knew. I knew about the Stonewall Uprising because we've talked about it before
Oh
in
yeah.
another podcast. I didn't know the history behind it. So it's sad to think that a state like New York in 1969, which would have been full of Andy Warhol wannabes,
Mm-hmm.
uh, peace, love, and all that hippie, stuff. It's just mind-boggling to think that, yeah, you can have your peace, love, and acceptance as long as you ain't gay, pal. You know what I mean?
Yep. And it's amazing because if you think about a place like New York now, and it's such a, like, obviously you have San Francisco, which is the number one. Random side note that I just remembered from now. I took a course in college. It was a brand new course. I think it was, I'm trying to remember the actual name for it. I think it was human sexuality, roughly. It was a brand new course the year that we took it. It was awesome. I loved it. And we found out why there's such a high populace of gay people in San Francisco. It's actually because back when, I'm trying to remember which war it was, during one of the wars, they would go through all the ports, gather up all the fellas, and the last port, or one of the last ports, was in San Francisco. And that was where they kicked off anyone they thought was gay or had proven to be gay. They literally just kicked them off there. Didn't matter if you were from the other side of the country or anywhere else. They were like, last stop, last call, get the fuck out.
End of the road.
So that is actually why there's such a high populace of gay people in San Francisco. And I can remember learning that, and I'm just
Interesting.
like, that's really kind of, I mean, horrible, horrible what happened, but kind of cool to find out why
Why?
there's such a high concentration of gay people, specifically gay men. I would assume, just because of obviously back in the time that it was
Yeah, women
happening,
weren't going to war.
weren't exactly women weren't allowed in the fight. So it
And
makes sense.
unless they were cooking the soldiers a meal.
Well, yeah, of course. You can't forget that. I mean, we were good for cooking. That was it. But outside of San Francisco, when you think for like gay cities, like you think New York because you have so much theater, so much drag performance, um, so many kind of like artists, and
Such a diversity.
exactly, there's such a high diversity. And I'm trying to think of that. Crap, what the hell's it called? I can't even think of the actual name of the little like city area that they go like here
Soho?
we. Is it Soho? It might be. I can't remember if it's Soho or not. But it's like here we have the quote unquote gayborhood, which is over in Walkerville. You go over there and you see flags flying all over the place, and it's a high concentration of the gay community going, yeah, we support all of this. We have our businesses here, we have our homes, and let's be honest, gay people make nice homes. We just do.
Yes,
We're
I tend to agree.
like, here you go. It looks all pretty. Yes, it does.
So back to the history. So June 28th, 1970 is officially the first um, gay pride
Yep.
event. And it was like thousands. And I'm not going to elaborate the number. I'm just going to say thousands of people took to the streets in Manhattan to
Mm-hmm.
to demonstrate and protest and create awareness. And um, Christopher Street in Manhattan became the Christopher Street Gay Liberation Day March. That was the official title of the parade. Go
East
ahead.
Village. No, I was just thinking. I had a thought of when you were talking about it. I suddenly remembered Wigstock. And if you haven't watched, there's actually, I'm so excited to talk about it. if you haven't watched, there's actually a documentary of it on Crave, so HBO, that you can watch about Wigstock and the history of it. Really freaking good. It started in 1984 in Manhattan, East Village. East Village,
Ah, East
that's the
Village.
gay area. I I knew it would be a connection. But again, in Manhattan is another place where Wigstock started, and if I remember correct, Lady Bunny was one of the like founding members. She was like, "Yeah, we got together in a park. We played some music. There were like 20 people, if that."
Yeah, now.
I would say, and now it is ginormous, like thousands upon thousands of people. Huge events. They go for, I want to say they do like a 12 to 18-hour show basically,
Oh,
where they
nice.
start off in the day, and it's amazing. Like I said, if you haven't seen the documentary, give it a watch. It was so cool to see that part of history
I
and
will. I will.
where it came from. It's
I
just so
will.
good.
So, um, even though June 28th, 1970 marked the first official gay pride event, Pride Month officially came around in 1990 when President Clinton
Yep.
officially declared June to be Gay Pride Month.
I didn't realize he was the one who officiated that or
Yeah, me
made
either.
that official.
But it's crazy that 1970 was the first gay pride event, but 1990 was when they made it official.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what 30 years of unofficial bullshit going on. Not bullshit. It wasn't bullshit. Just bad choice of words.
I didn't even catch that when you said it. I'm like, yeah, that's how I would have said it. It's like, okay, yeah. It's a whole lot of like unacknowledged bullshit. There we go.
Yes, yes,
That's the word.
unacknowledged bullshit.
Unacknowledged bullshit for a solid 20 years before
Please
the
don't send
president
us
went,
hate mail.
that one where you're like, I have a gay brother and my best friend is gay. It's gotta work.
So, the official symbol of gay pride is the rainbow flag. Um, Gilbert Baker was the creator, was recognized as the creator. And this is an interesting tidbit. Um, a politician with the last Harvey Milk,
Oh yeah, Harvey, I'm going to talk
he
about his, yeah.
the first openly gay
Official.
politician was the one that asked Gilbert, who was his friend, to create the flag. Which I was like, because I watched that movie Milk, and
I was just going to say, I was just going to ask you because that's on my list of gay movies. And that's one,
that is
it's,
a powerful movie.
I was going to say, whenever I tell people to watch, I'm like, okay, it's not going to be a movie that you just put on in the background and you watch 10 million times and you're like, oh yeah, it's not like one of those. It is a hard hitting, to the truth, to the point, this is what it was like being a gay man. And he broke boundaries by being an openly gay man and getting an actual political official job
Yeah,
and being out. He wasn't just like, not that there weren't other gays in politics before that. It's that none of them were openly out. They were all in the closet. They hid away what they were, and he was not. He was out there. He talked about it. He marched about it. He did all of the things.
yeah,
And it is a very powerful story. And I'm pretty sure it was one of those ones like gay history is one of those things that gets to me because I'm grateful. And when we get to local history, you guys will understand why I'm grateful for my mom. Because I sometimes forget how lucky I am to have her for it compared to so many other people who have not been lucky. to
Right.
have someone on their side for it in their own families.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just for anyone out there, if you are not accepted by your family or anything like that, I won't speak for Dana, she can speak for herself, but I accept you, I'll love you, you can come sit over here with me. I will be your family.
I think it was a couple years ago that I found a thing on Facebook, and I kind of adopted it for the month of June, and it said, so it had a bear, and she's big mouth open, and it had little cubs behind her, and each cub had a significant thing from the gay pride flag.
Oh,
So
I
like
love
the
that.
six colors of the rainbow, the
Hmm.
uh, black and brown stripe, the pink and pale blue stripe, and it said, if your family isn't accepting of you, I'll be your new mom.
Yep.
So
I
there,
think
I'll be
I
your new
was
mom.
I was going to say, I think I shared something similar. I don't think I shared that one, but I shared one of the ones where it was, if your own family doesn't accept you, come here, I'm your mom now. I think I shared that when I was like 20. It's like, doesn't matter.
Yeah, because I
Okay,
want kids at 20.
I was just going to say, you know what? I'm older now. Come here. You will be my child. I will keep you safe. And I will take out anyone who comes after you and be like, no, 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 no. You don't touch my kid. You don't fucking touch my kid.
Okay, so uh, in the beginning, in the beginning,
In the beginning of time.
no, there were six colors on the flag. Each color represented an aspect of the LGBTQ at that time movement: life, healing, sunlight, nature, serenity, and spirit. In 2017, and this is where my history is going to wave like a 1970s disco. um, 2017, Philadelphia added the black and brown stripes on their flag to symbolically represent the LGBTQ people of color who felt marginalized from their own community. So they were part of the LGBTQ community, but felt like they were in a different.
Subgenre, kind of.
Exactly. So that's the black and brown flag. And when we post this on TikTok, I will post exactly what the LGBTQIA2S flag looks like. God, I hope I got all those letters right.
I can't remember half of them. I just know that I'm the L.
So, we're in 2024, and a lot of organizations have adopted the flag, having added the baby blue and light pink stripes for the transgender community. Which So, in recent years, the flag has been updated and expanded to include um, the diversity of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex,
Mm.
intersex, asex, and two-spirit communities.
So that is beyond a mouthful. Like, goddamn.
Most of that I remembered.
I would just say the fact that you actually remembered that, you all don't understand. She remembers this. Shows where your importance is. I remember this, and then from 5 minutes from now, you'll still
Honey,
ask
why'd
me,
I walk into the kitchen?
why'd I walk into the kitchen, followed by, for the 10th time, did I pay you back for those tickets?
You could have made a mint off of me. No, no, you didn't. Then I'd look at my bank account, all these e-transfers, like one a week, like I'm paying you to be my friend.
She's my best friend. Take your money. Take your. It's, oh my
So,
god.
so
It's so
now,
good.
now the official. Shut up. Now the official letters are LGBTQIA2S. Sorry, my finger doesn't want to stand up, but yeah, 8. Woo! So, and again, we're wavering because we were in 2024, but now we're going back to 2018, and it was Daniel. I'm gonna fuck up his name. Quasar. He designed the Progress Pride flag. So he incorporated the brown and the black and brown stripes and the pink, white, and blue stripes. This flag is now celebrated by many in the community for its inclusivity.
Yes. The words today are hard.
They are.
They're all big words.
2021 was Valentino, and again, pardon me if you're listening, I'm going to fuck up your name, Valentino Vecchetti. I love Italian people, I really do. So
I swear to God,
it's like that they designed. They added the intersex colors. It's a purple circle over a yellow triangle. Yeah, a purple circle over a yellow triangle, and that was created in 2013. But it wasn't added to the flag until 2021. And now, for my last bit of info. So, like we said, we have the LGBTQIA2S. So we know what the L, the G, the B, the T, and the Q, A,
you kind of did it like
I,
a little, like a rap, where you're like,
but
ding, ding.
and this again, so many people don't know what the 2S stands for.
Yes, that's very true.
And I'm going to school you. Because that's what I like to do. I should have been a teacher.
Get real.
Yeah. The 2S stands for Two Spirited, and it was added in 1990. It is a term that is attributed to. She's an elder. Myra Laramie. Whew, I know I remember.
I'm blown away with you today. The amount of information that you're remembering is goddamn.
And she was the one who proposed using it during they were having it was a third annual intertribal Native American First Nations gay and lesbian American conference. Whew! And it was held in Winnipeg. It was held in Canada. Really? So that's what the 2S stands for. My brain's fried. Now go ahead.
For the rest of the podcast, you're all just going to say,
it's like, honestly, I don't know how I remembered some of that stuff. Because it was Norm and I were, Norm was doing articles for Habs World last night on his laptop, and I was researching, and we had Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Netflix in the background. So I mean, like I'm
hard at work, and
I'm trying to look up Pride stuff, and I'm like, because I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And again, I don't know if you've ever watched the show.
Nope.
So Andre Brana, who sadly we lost.
Oh yeah. I think
he played Captain. He played Captain Holt, who was an openly gay man.
Oh.
So yeah, it was he played uh uh not only was he a person of color, but he was gay and he was a captain.
I would say, and that's just fantastic because it's like, okay, it gives multiple representations and shows, okay, here doesn't matter any of it. He deserved the job, he got the job, and and that's a good example. I don't know if the
Well, he
show
was
sets a good
he
example of
wasn't
real
gay
life.
in real life,
Well, no. I meant
but yeah,
the character. Yeah,
yeah,
just for the
and
representation aspect of it.
and sometimes in the show he will his character, not he, rest his soul. He mentioned what it was like being a black gay cop in New
Mm-hmm.
York, because the show is set in New York, Brooklyn. So it was interesting because they kind of wove a little history into what gay people had to go through to succeed.
I love that.
And he
I
had a
love it.
pride flag on his desk, which is
I
awesome.
wish. I would say now. I wish I had a little flag just to wave here. So I'll start off with my little random factoids that I have, just because I
All right.
have them. I would say I have little random things stuffed away in my little like chipmunk brain that goes whoo. So we'll start off with one of the weird ones that I find really fascinating and entertains me highly is that homosexuality.
Oh God, pardon me.
Oh,
Allergy
Tessa,
season is killing me.
I,
Go ahead.
oh yeah, trust me, I know the stupid poplar out back my house. I want to set it on fire.
It looks like it's snowing out my front window every fucking day, and
Yes.
my eyes get itchy. I haven't gone outside in days.
Yep. I say if I didn't have to work, I wouldn't have left the house. I would have said, no. So in UK, the Parliament thought at the time that was basically run by all straight white guys, old
Of
straight white
course.
guys at that, thought that women wouldn't have the forethought or the inappropriate thoughts to have lesbianism. So they literally made a law that said homosexuality, men only, was illegal. At no point in time was lesbianism illegal in the UK,
Go ahead.
which I have always found. I mean, now it's hilarious. Back then, still, it would have been like, you want to be careful. But I find it hilarious because it was literally. I'm trying to remember where the hell it was because I read multiple articles on it years ago and then I kind of brushed up on it last night again, where the guys were like, look, if we put this in writing, women are going to have the ideas that they can sleep together. We can't put that idea in their head. We have to keep them thinking pure. Men, on the other hand, not pure creatures, so they already know homosexuality. No, 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 nay, 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 nay. It's like, okay, that's not at all how it was happening. But you know what? Women were saying, "Oh yeah, we spinsters. We just gonna we." They were roommates.
For 60 years.
Yeah, exactly. They only had one bedroom because they were so poor. They shared a room together. It's fine though. It's fine. So that's like one of my random points that I just love because I watch things in those points in time in history in the UK and I'm like, I'm glad that, the gay rights and all that move forward. But it still entertains me to no end that the men were like, the women folk don't know about this. We have to keep it on the down low. Don't make a law about it. Cool. We fly under the
Oh.
radar. We fly under the radar. Oh, look, they're all dancing together because there's no men in here. Those poor things. Oh, yeah, that's it. Right. So, and the other thing, one of my other weirdly favorite things about specifically lesbian history is where the term lesbian came from. So I'm sure you've seen it more now because I've noticed it's become more of a thing now to have sapphic oriented things. If it's sapphic poetry, sapphic novels, sapphic shows, that kind of stuff. A lot of people in the mainstream don't know what that is or where that came from. So they're just like, what the fuck's a sapphic? I am a sapphic.
Me.
So the term sapphic actually originates in ancient Greece from the poet Sappho. Now, she is, I'd say, arguably one of the more well-known lesbians from the ancient Greek times. She has a crap ton of poetry that she wrote. Very beautiful. I love it. I've used it in some of like my role playing stuff with my friends where I'm like, oh yeah, here's this poem. Blah, 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 blah. And it sounds really good. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't make that at all. That was that gay chick back in ancient Greece. She had some good way with words and women. um so we get sapphic actually from her name. Now, there are arguments in the what are those things called? Like the history buffs, where they go back and forth whether or not she was gay or it was just her poems were about the love between women. It's kind of like a 50-50 toss up. Mind you, she also only didn't exclusively sleep with women, she also slept with men. So it'd be more accurate to say that she was bisexual. But, history has decided that she was the lesbian. We're going to call her, she's named Sappho's. We'll call lesbians that they're sapphic. And she was actually from the Greek island of Lesbos, which is actually a real place, in case people are just thinking, oh, I heard that in South Park one time.
Where are you going for vacation? Lesbos.
That was exactly where you go. I'm going to the island of lesbians. And then you get there and you're really disappointed when you're like, there's not just lesbians here. What the fuck is this? This bullshit.
There's men on this island.
Exactly. It's bullshit. I was false advertised. Bait and switch. So it's actually, that's where we get the term lesbian from. Just because, technically speaking, she was a lesbian in the form of, that's actually what people from Lesbos were called. They were lesbians. Like, I'm a Canadian.
Crazy.
Right?
I never knew that.
So it's one of those fun things that I love, and then it just kind of, it also makes me laugh at times when people are like, oh, so it's an entire island of them? No, it's just, that's literally what the people were called from there. So even if you were a straight guy or a straight woman, you were still called a lesbian because you were from Lesbos. But instead we took it. It's ours now.
Oh.
We claimed it like we claimed her name. Sappho,
people.
Sapphic. Like, oh yeah, what are you doing? I make sapphic books. You're like, oh, hail Sappho, the original lesbian. I mean, she's not even, there's actual like documentation. There's not a lot throughout history that has documented things about lesbianism, because I always find that women don't, we're not more out about it. We like to be more in the shadows. We're like, yeah, this is my partner, this is my girlfriend, we live together, we have our life, all that kind of stuff. Whereas when you look throughout history, they're like, oh yeah, Alexander the Great, gay. It's like, oh shoot, cool. Like, what about his wife who's actually sleeping with his other wife? It's like, nah, she's fine. No, they're just roommates. They just share the harem together. God, come on. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. They have little diaries that they're chiseling away into, and be like, oh, today I met Matilda. Like, oh no, they're just friends. They're just friends who shower naked together to conserve water. It's fine. So those are like my little random factoids, and I'm sure I'll have more of them as we're just going through them. So we'll go on to local history. Obviously, local gay right here. Your other local gay could possibly still be sitting in your living room, or could be back home right now and be back later.
Well, I know he's coming back. I think he was waiting to see what we were having for dinner.
Is there good food? I'll be here. Not good food? Fuck you guys, I'm out.
Oh, you're cooking? Okay, I'll stay. Yeah, I'll be back.
You guys are making food? Yeah, that's how you keep us. So, obviously, like I said, local gay. So, the specific gay history that I'm going to talk about here is my mom, who used to work for the AIDS committee when she was like in her, I think she was like 1920 when she started there. Started as a volunteer, can't even speak. So she started off as a volunteer, and then ended up getting hired there. Now, I learned some new terms last night that I didn't know because I don't do the drugs.
I don't do the drugs.
She was like, yeah, I volunteered and then I got hired to help with the bleach kit program. And I looked at her and went, it's the bleach kit program. And she just looked at me, shook her head, and started to giggle. She's like, I have sheltered you too much. I'm like, I don't fucking know what that is. Like, is it a gay thing that I don't know about? What are you doing? Is that to like bleach the butt hair or something? I don't know. And she was like, no, they were kits for cleaning your works, which were like needles and bands for those who were doing drugs. And I was like, oh. So my mom worked in the AIDS committee during the AIDS crisis. She lost a lot of friends during that time. So she actually was a part of it. She would even go to hospitals or to hospice, wherever the AIDS patient was. And they actually had volunteers who would go in and you would just sit with them, hold their hand, read to them, interact with them, anything like that. Because back in the 90s, they didn't know how AIDS were initially spread. They thought like just from contact or being around a gay person. They were like, oh, only gay people can have it. That's clearly it. Excuse me. And obviously we know now that wasn't true. The gay society, specifically gay men, got such a large backlash from it because it was seen as, oh, that's what you get for being gay. Look at this disease. Like, okay, it's not how it came into being, but okay.
The Almighty's punishment.
Mm-hmm. So
Did you hear my eyes roll?
I think they heard it around the world. So, did a full on
Oh.
360. But there's a few shows that I want to watch because it talks about it and some documentaries about it. There's actually a movie called, I don't know if you've seen it, Dallas Buyers Club.
Oh,
Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto.
what a fucking amazing movie.
It was so well done. And again, it's like the Milk movie. You're not going to have it in the background and just be like, oh yeah, it's a lighthearted movie. No. It is a heavy hitting movie. They did such a phenomenal job with it. It's set in 1985 Dallas. That's the Dallas Buyers Club. Um, the what's his name? Woodruff, who is played by Matthew McConaughey, if I remember correctly, um, finds a workaround in the system to get medication for AIDS. And now, one of the things that I love about that, and it's a true story, and it was one of multiple different kind of buyers club. It became a thing where the main character, got AIDS. He wasn't gay, but when he got his test results back, he was like, ah, I'm no queer. What are you talking about? And they're like, sir, that's not the only way to contract AIDS. Do you do drugs? And he was shooting up all the time. And he was using dirty needles, sharing them with people. And he got it from,
He was also having a lot of unprotected
oh, yeah,
sex with
that
a
too.
lot of
Mules.
rodeo bunnies.
It's,
The women
they're
that hang around the rodeos.
buckle bunnies.
Buckle. Okay,
I learned that from Yellowstone. They were called buckle
nice.
bunnies. I
Buckle
was like,
bunnies.
I've never heard that term before, but it's so cute.
I mean, I know what a puck bunny is. So they're the ones that want to sleep with hockey players.
I would say exactly. So apparently that is what, for cowboys and all that kind of stuff, they're called buckle bunnies. It's adorable.
Nice.
So now we know, and now everyone else knows. Um, so in the movie, that's when he kind of learns. He's like, okay, it's not just queers who get it. It's, oh yeah, it's straight people too. And he ends up starting a club where he would go down to Mexico, grab huge shipments of cheap medication that was the either trials or the same ones in the States that they couldn't afford to get in the States, and would bring it back and was selling it to people and had a full on business for it where he was actually making a difference. And when he starts off, he is not a gay supporter. Jared
Yeah.
Leto is, if I remember right, is a trans woman in it.
Yes.
And fucking, he did such a good job in that position. So good. Um, and they end up becoming basically like best friends during it and all of that. And he's there for Jared Leto's character at the end when she dies. And I can remember watching it and I turned to my mom and I was like, does this, like, how does it make you feel watching this? Because she lived through it, she worked in
Yeah.
that field. And she was like, it hits hard. It was like, there, because she watched so many of her friends die from it. And even people that she didn't know, when she would go in and she'd sit with them because their families abandoned them. She was like, you would go into the care facilities and just see rows of them lined up, kind of thing, like in their rooms, just sitting there dying at the end all by themselves and just absolutely nothing. They didn't have anyone to
COVID.
be there. Exactly. Same kind of thing, but for a longer term period of time. So it was one of those things where it's like, okay. So, I mean, it's one of those points of going like, yep, I'm proud my mama did that. That's right, people. She was
Yeah.
there. She was like, fuck that. I'm going to hold your hand at the end. So she did that. Um, so her and my uncle, who was a very gay man, I loved Uncle Jimberly to death. Um, her and him decided to open up a gay bar. I don't know what made them think, hey, now's the time to do it, when she was pregnant with me at the time and giving birth to me. So I don't know if you remember the bar. It was called JB's, and it's now the Kildare House.
Oh,
So
yes.
that was a gay bar back in 1992, and it was the gay bar that my mom and my uncle ran. So they actually lived in the apartments just up the street. You know, the white row
Hmm.
ones. That's where they lived. They had an apartment one above each other.
Oh, okay.
That's where I lived when I was first born,
Yeah.
just up the street from the gay bar. So they, in 1992, decided to do that. And like I said, my mom was pregnant with me. I was born May 14th. And when I was the ripe old age of 6 weeks old, they wandered me down the street to the gay bar because my father was helping actually build it up at the time, putting together uh, the bar and all that kind of stuff. So we would go down there. My mom would just pass me around to all the gays and be like, "Here you go, hold the baby, while I go and do this." And
Hold the baby.
yep, I always tease people. I always joke. I'm like, "See, I turned out gay because all the gay guys held me.
You
All
were
the
born
gay."
in the neighborhood.
Exactly. I was like, the gay roshed off on me. I couldn't get it off. Now I like women. So they had the gay bar, and one of my prideful points is the fact that actually the first gay pride in Windsor history was put together because of my uncle and my mom, and was held at the bar. So that's my prideful moment where I'm like, we have pride because of my mama. The
Give
straight
Mama a
woman.
hug for me when we're all done.
I would say the straight woman was the one who was like, yeah, yeah, we're going to have gay pride up in here. We're going to do it here. And I mean, like, even she talks about, she's like, yeah, that very first one was like a group of 6 people walking in the pride parade. It was like, ooh, okay, to the bar. But that bar, I can't remember how long they didn't have it. It wasn't open for a super long time. But while they did, they had all of the fun. They did all of the things. They had drag shows in it. They actually used to have, it was on Sundays, but Sunday family brunch. So Sundays were family day. So you could bring your parents, you could bring your kids, whatever. They'd have them together. They'd have the entertainers. And one of my favorite things is that my mama's Grandma Honey is what we called her, was, she had to have been like in her 70s or 80s, and she lived across the street from Mama. And every Sunday, without fail, she would be at that bar for brunch and celebrating with all the gays. And she was an extremely religious, very Christian woman. But she was there. She's like, oh, I love them. I was like, they're not hurting anyone. All they want to do is love somebody else. That's not my point. Like, I don't get to judge them for it. They don't get to judge me. I don't get to judge them. And just loved openly and believed that love should just be love. And that makes me so happy. It's like, see, it can happen. It is a possibility. You can do it. Now, it's not talked about often, but even here in Canada, we did have cop raids. Even though being gay was legal, same-sex marriage didn't become legal until in Ontario was the first one, June 10th, 2003. Same-sex marriage became legal across all of Ontario. It became legal across all of Canada, ending in New Brunswick, 2005. So we weren't able to marry in the 90s or the early 2000s, or the early aughts, as they're called. But I sound smart. SMRT. But it wasn't illegal to be gay back then. However, even with having the gay club, the cops did do raids where they would cover their badges, go in, and beat the patrons that were in there if they were known to be gay men. I think some gay women, but not as much. Worse if you were transgender. And obviously, back in the 90s, it wasn't readily accessible. Like now, when you think about transgender, you can go all the way. You can get the full gender reassignment. You can get the breasts removed or breast implants put in. You can get the facial contouring. You can get you have all of these options now. You can have the hormone replacements. You have different options for hormone replacements, laser hair removal, all of these things. In the 90s, we didn't have those things. Like, that was several decades ago. We didn't have the technology for that kind of stuff. You couldn't do any of it. So it was basically just you would cross dress. And
Yeah.
that was basically that was pretty much to the extent that you could have. And it made it easier for the cops to be able to come in and identify, like, oh, hey, you shouldn't be dressing like a woman, beat the living shit out of you. And even my Uncle Jim really got the crap kicked out of him. And he was a big guy. He was like I want to say he was 6'3", somewhere up there. Probably, I mean, he was a bigger, heftier guy, so he had to be about like 260 or plus, probably more than that. And they would still come in to beat the crap out of him just because he was a gay guy. The only way, the nights that my mom worked were the nights that nothing would happen for sure, because it was a straight, big titted woman wandering through. And it was one of the times, one of the stories that I don't know if she's told you or not, there was a crowd of people. They were all drinking, of course, all having fun. And all of a sudden, they hear an announcement of, okay, if we raise like $500 in the next 2 minutes, then I think it was like Caroline and Tits will go running around the bar without bras on. They'll go topless completely. And Mom was just like behind the bar doing drinks, and she's like, I hear my
I'm
name. What's
doing what
happening?
now?
She's like, I'm doing what? And they're like, woo, yeah, woo. So they're going around, they're collecting the money, and within 45 seconds to a minute, they've already run all the way around. They're like, okay, we're almost at our goal. And the one person collecting money steps outside, and there's two cops there. And they actually pull out money, toss it into the container. And then they come in and they're like, that's it. We raised all the money. Now, for anyone listening to this who's not from the 90s or the early 2000s, we all know that $500 was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
That was a lot of money. And they raised it like that. So then I was like, okay. They came around. They're like, shirts off, bra off, time to streak through. So she would do things like that would help, stave off the law enforcement coming in and doing a raid, which is one of those things that it's like it's basically like having a beard. And for anyone who doesn't know the term, um, having a beard is having a fake person as your significant other, where you bring them to all of the events of your family. You're actually probably just best friends. Legitimately, you're probably actually roommates and you're fucking other people. So she was basically like the beard for the entire bar, where it's like, okay, fine. We won't have the cops come in and raid here. I will streak through. They'll be happy, and we'll all get not beaten today. Huzzah! So
The not beaten is very important.
yeah, I didn't have to limp home tonight. There's a few things like that. So fast forward to now, I always love the fact that I know how old Pride is based on my own age. So I know that this August will be our 32nd year of Pride in Windsor, and it has grown exponentially. Unfortunately, we don't actually have any gay bars in Windsor anymore. They've all since closed. Like
Really?
yeah, we had 2012, then it closed, and it's back to being a strip club again. JB's closed and is now Kildare House. Um, Red, the place with the
Red.
red
Yeah.
door, um, rebranded from being a gay club into, I can't remember what the hell they've become now. Like they still like they're inclusive, but it's not gay
Aren't they
specific.
karaoke?
Are they karaoke now? I think that I want to say yes, but I'm not 100% certain. Um, there's Villains Bistro, but again, not a gay club specifically. They do burlesque, they do drag shows, they have comedy nights, all that kind of stuff.
And if we may for a moment, that is not an establishment that I would support.
Villains?
Yeah.
I've heard that from a lot of people. I've never actually gone to it, but I've heard from a
For
good chunk of the population.
for an establishment that promotes drag shows and um stuff like that, they were caught posting homophobic rants on social media.
I'd heard about that. I didn't see the rants firsthand, but I've heard that from a lot of people in the gay community, even around here, where they're like, okay, they were doing rants, they were using derogatory terms, even with the entertainers in
Yeah.
there. Um, they were being sexist, all those kind of things. Like I've heard horrible things about there. People, I mean,
Yeah.
but we have so few places to actually go to, and that's the
Yeah,
sad thing.
exactly. Exactly.
And God, how many years ago was it now? I was so happy and still am happy that Lavender Promotions, a local business here run by Lawrence Lavender.
Oh, the man shop. Although it's not a gay bar, it is
Mm,
all inclusive but caters
yeah,
to.
yep. I'm gonna say,
Sorry.
but
It
they're.
just
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, but they're not a bar anymore. They're closing that part of it. They're just gonna stick to the barber shop.
Really?
Yeah, I heard about that 6 months ago, sometime around there.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, all of it just ends up closing down. But Lawrence was the one who started bringing in the drag shows. I can remember when he tentatively brought in the very first one over at the Rockstar, and we went to it, and it was literally jammed packed, completely full, to point of brimming. And he was like, I sold out so quickly for this show. And he has continued having it, and drag has actually caught on in Winter Essex County.
It
Not so
has.
much, I would say, not as much out this way, like out in the boonies kind of thing. But we actually now have multiple locations that hold drag shows. We have more drag performances, which makes me happy. I'm like, yes, this makes me happy to see that we're kind of growing in that direction. We're inclusive, and he's brought in RuPaul girls to do shows. So for anyone
Yes.
who doesn't watch TV, I suppose, or watch the gay stuff, RuPaul's Drag Race, which each one of the things that I have down in my notes here. Um, there we go. Started February 2nd, 2009. Can you believe it was already 2009 that started?
I know.
Makes me feel old.
I haven't
So,
missed a season yet.
nope, I always watch all of them. And I can remember anyone who didn't see it wouldn't understand how piss poor the quality of the show was when it very first started. Those first like 2 seasons, it was like
Oh,
someone took a camcorder and was going, "Okay, this is the workshop," and it was some brick building inside where they're like, "Okay, here's like a mirror and a little tiny station for you." It's dimly lit. The sound quality's piss poor. It's got a frame rate of like I don't even know how slow. It's just bad. But I absolutely loved it. Loved it to pieces. Could not get over it. Just loved it. And have watched it ever since. So it's now 16 seasons in, along with spin offs, several seasons of All Stars. I don't even know how
yeah,
many seasons at this point. Drag University, Secret Celebrity, which I actually really love that one.
that is
Now
fun.
it's so much fun to watch. Like it's a shorter kind of season, but it's so much fun to watch. Untucked, which is the behind the scenes drama.
Oh, that's so good.
I was gonna say, which anytime that you want to see the tea, watch that, and you're like, ooh,
Ooh, child.
ooh, ooh, she told her, oh, get her, girl, get her. I didn't say that. I said you was a slut. Okay. And then on top of that, there's international spin-offs, and RuPaul's not involved in every single one of them. But there's the UK one, which I absolutely love just because of all the different accents that come across it. I think that's why I love it so much. The Courtney accent, the Irish, the Scottish, just all of them. Danny Beard.
Lawrence Cheney is my
Oh,
favorite.
yes. Oh,
I fucking loved her. Just
I just,
loved her.
there's so many of them. Like I just, they're so good. They're so good. There's the Philippines, the Down Under is another good one.
Thailand.
Oh yeah, Thailand, France, Chile, and then of course Canada, which is hosted by our beautiful Brooklyn Heights, who I have seen perform twice now. Up to 3 times? I think twice. I think I've
Mhm.
seen her twice. One time was at the Capitol Theater, and she was my favorite performance just because she got up there, and then after she did like 2 numbers back to back, she then would take the mic and walk around the stage and just talk to the audience for 5 minutes straight and be like, okay, well, Lawrence is telling me I need to get off the stage, so I need to get off the stage and go change. I'll be back afterwards. Came back for the second half after all the other girls did theirs, did another 2 numbers, and then again proceeded to talk to us for another 10 minutes. Just like, okay. Lawrence is like, okay, well, we need to leave now. It's like, the buses are not running anymore. Everyone get out. But I absolutely loved her. I'd have to say, like, my second favorite one, I can't remember. I don't remember if it was you who went with me or Shauna. We saw Thorgy Thor.
It was Shauna because I have not been to a local drag show in Essex County yet, other than the Work the World.
Yeah. Which I mean was fun, but it doesn't have the same feel of it. Okay, so
Yeah,
then it was your brother because Darren was sitting on the other side of me.
of course it was.
Darren and Gina. Um, but Thorgy was fucking amazing. Like, did a 10-minute finale for it randomly. It's just like, I don't even know. My ADHD says, hey, pick this one. I don't even know what songs are coming on. And just danced around, literally climbed on the chair, held her hand to get up. All that fun stuff was fucking phenomenal. Like that. As much as I love Brooklyn Heights, I do. Like, she's right there, girl. She's right there. But the show has become such a phenomenon. And whether you agree with everything RuPaul does or not, that's between you and whatever. I don't
You and
pay
your
attention.
beliefs.
Exactly. Like, I don't pay attention to what he believes in or does, anything like that. I just pay attention to the drag show. And for me, what I love about it is that it became like a platform of making drag mainstream. Because back
Yes.
when it first came out, it was so niche and so hush hush. Like, you didn't talk about it, no one knew about it. Drag wasn't really a big thing outside of the gay community. And now you look around, and you're like, nope, people do it. They're far more proud about it. They're inclusive. It's grown around the world. And it makes me happy to see that, to see it become more normalized. Now, I don't know if you've seen, there's a show, I'm going to say kind of like a spin off of it. It's called We're Here.
Yes, I started watching it the other day with Bob the drag queen.
Yes. Purse first. So that's funny because Mama and I just started watching it last week. So we just
Yeah, I
randomly.
think I started watching it like Wednesday.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think it was like Monday or Tuesday that we started watching it. I just put it on. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm not ready to commit to a full series just now. I just want something light, and I put it on. Light my ass. I like cried during two of the episodes
And
when
there's
they're
like
talking.
4 seasons of it.
Right? I didn't even know that. But what I love about it is that they're going to. I mean, I think they're ballsy because they're traveling across the states in drag to these small, remote locations where it's small town folk who are like, we don't believe in gay.
Like almost Midwestern.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like the places that they're going. In one of them, I want to say it was like episode 3 or 4. I think it was 3. I can't remember which place it was that they were at, but they were literally being told, "Get off our premises, or we're calling the cops." They're like, "We're literally just walking on the
Yes,
sidewalk."
episode 3.
They're
When
like,
they were
"Oh,
looking for the venue to have the show.
yes, that one." Like, okay, I guess we'll just leave. That's fine. Have a nice. But I loved how they handled it because they were polite the entire time. Went, "Have a nice day, ma'am," and she's just like ignoring them, slams the door, and
Oh,
like
that
locks
old
it.
lady.
Yeah,
Bitch face.
yeah, exactly. It was like, you can go fuck yourself. They were being respectful. They were just like, "Hey, do you have anything going?" No. It's like, okay, that's fine. Here you go. And it's like, okay, goodbye, ma'am. Goodbye.
You
So,
can't stand here. I'm gonna call the cops.
yep,
They were outside of
theater
a
venue of some
store.
sort.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one too. It's like, yep. So I think that they're ballsy for doing it, but I love that they're doing it to go to these small communities and empowering them and saying, like, okay, here, you can be queer. We're here whether you like it or not. And the support the families, like seeing how the families are and how they interact, like that to me. The one girl's mother was devout Christian and extremely apologetic for how she treated her daughter because she
Oh
didn't see
God,
the
that
error.
would hit me in the feels so fucking hard.
That was the one that made me teary eyed and cry because of her saying that she was so sorry that she can't believe that she ever thought that way. And she's changed so much because in a short amount of time, in just the 8 months time, like her daughter had come out to her, like we'll say like 10 months prior, and a couple months later her and her brother moved out. And then since then, in that short amount of time, her mom completely changed, where she was like, yep, she became part of the group of moms who would go around hugging people at Pride.
The mom hug.
Yep, I say she even holds up a sign. She was like, my husband and I actually made a sign that said, we were those Christians, but you can change, you can be different. Like, she even calls herself out on it and says, I was one of them. I now see the error of my ways. I can be Christian, she can be Christian, and it doesn't mean that I don't love my child and I
Yeah.
don't support her. Like, it doesn't, they're not mutually exclusive. So that one just like right to the fucking feels like, oh. that show.
My
It's
little gay heart.
exactly my little gay black heart. There's a little rainbow inside of it. But I'm so glad. And the thing is, we wouldn't have been able to have a show like that had they not all been on RuPaul's Drag Race to begin with.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have had all of this support, all of this fighting back, all of this knowledge against, hey, fuck you and your laws, and telling me that, oh, drag queens can't be around kids or do story times. I mean, I'm with Bianca Del Rio. I'm like, nah, I no fucking way in hell do I want to read stories to kids. But you go do it. You have fun with that. I want to hear Bianca be bad and say swear words and tell people that they're a cunt. Or that Heather's gonna die on Friday. Like,
Poor bitch is dead.
oh my god. Oh god, I love her so much. So for me, for my representation, you know what, I'll start off with the first one first, because I'm sure you've probably heard of it and probably seen this series, Queer as Folk.
Yeah, yeah.
So it originated in the UK version, which was actually, where's it? Why do I not have it written down? I have it on the wrong page. That's why. It's like trying to remember. 1999, I believe. Yes, the original British version came out in 1999 over in Great Britain. There, it did so well that a year later, not even like it wasn't multiple seasons later, the very next year, 2000, they actually did an American spin-off, and it ran for, that'd be 6 seasons. So it ran from 2000 until 2005. And it was actually, I didn't watch it until later on because I'd never seen it on TV because, you know, it was on late nights. It's like after dark, only adults can watch this. To be fair, there was a lot of sex in it, so I'm not surprised. Um, but I loved that series. Like, it was so well done. It talked about AIDS. It talked about how there were different strains of AIDS, which was actually, that was the first time I had heard about that. I didn't know it before that show because one of the main characters falls in love with a guy who has AIDS, and he tells him, he's like, because the guy's always good, wears a condom. Just he's like, just wear a condom, like take your condom off. And he's like, I don't care if you give me AIDS. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? No, you could get like, there could be completely different strains of it. You could get a different one than me. You could end up dying from it, like all that kind of stuff. I can remember pausing it, looking at my mom, like, there's different strains. Like, yeah, we didn't know that at first, but yeah. I'm like, oh, she's like, yeah, when it first came about, we thought that it was just if you had AIDS, you just had AIDS. So they were like, okay, you go and find a AIDS positive partner and just go to Pound Town. You didn't have to worry. Then it came out afterwards. They're like, hey, you have like 5 different strains of this. What the hell? I'm like, what? Say what? So there's things in that show that I enjoyed from an entertainment standpoint as well as learned a lot. At the same time where I'm like, oh, it's a gay education. Now, for me, there was a show, I don't know if you've ever even heard of it, called The L Word.
Oh yeah.
Now, did you ever watch the show?
No.
So it's actually really well done. I'm one of those ones, I don't know how you feel about it as a straight woman. I kind of wonder, you've got to feel about it the same way as you do like when you see straight romance, where you're like, some of it's good, and then other ones are like, oh my god, fuck, that was bad. I find a lot of gay, lesbian movies or TV series are always just so not well done. They're always campy or cheesy. Like, I absolutely love the movie. Um, what's it called? But I'm a Cheerleader, and it's the conversion therapy thing. Where it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, but I'm a cheerleader. I can't be gay, and like that's the kind of camp you expect to see when you see anything gay or lesbian related for TV and movies. L Word was the first one that I'd ever seen that's a hard hitting, it's a legitimate, well done, phenomenally well done TV series. Like, even if it didn't have anything to do with being gay per se, it would still be a well done show.
Right.
So it had 6 seasons, was in 2004. It's since actually had a renewal with Generation Q that ran from 2019 to 2023.
Oh,
And it actually had some of the original cast in it, brought into it because it was, I want to say it was like their kids had now grown up and they were doing that kind of thing. I haven't seen that one yet. I only seen the original run of it, but I actually have it all on DVD and want to rewatch it one of these days because it was so well done, and it was one of the only lesbian centric shows out there where it's specific to. It's not like, oh yeah, here's a gay, like in Queer as Folk you had the lesbian couple and all the rest were gay men,
right.
whereas this was literally, it was just a group of lesbian friends, and that's what it focused on. That was it. I was like, yeah, you literally got to see everything. You got to see their fights, what their relationships were like, the ups, the downs, how it differed from straight settings, all that kind of stuff, and how it even differed from gay settings.
Mhm.
So I absolutely loved it for that, just because it's like, okay, it's an educational show, but it's also so fucking well done. Like, oh yeah, I need to rewatch that again. I'm sure now that I'm older, all of the sex scenes will be like, oh yeah, this hits different.
Now I know what this means.
Like, oh, switch. Oh, that was the technique she was doing. I get it now. I get. Oh, the nagi.
Yeah, unagi.
Oh. So we talked about a couple of the movies for the history: the Dallas Buyers Club, Milk. Uh, Now I want to talk about. Whew, all right, fine, leave. Another one that was actually wasn't 100% accurate to how it happened in history, and I don't know if you've watched it or not. So if you have, speak up. Did you ever watch The Danish Girl
No.
with Eddie?
Eddie Rainman?
Is that how you say it? Raymond? And Alicia Vikander, I think it is. So the IMDb puts it as a fictitious love story loosely inspired. Why did
He
fictitious
is
suddenly?
that the movie that he played the role in drag?
So he plays the role of the character who, what's hold on, look, you know what, let me just read this so that way then it's
Okay.
a fictitious
I'm
love
sorry.
story loosely inspired by the lives of Danish artist Lily Elbe, or Elbe, I'm not sure, and Gerda Wigener. Wigener.
Sure.
So Lily and Gerda's marriage and work evolves as they negative navigate Lily's groundbreaking journey as a transgendered pioneer. So it's based off of the first transgendered person uh, over in Europe. I think actually, I'm trying to remember. I looked into it years ago, back when I watched the movie, and she was based off of the actual first woman or trans woman who got the bottom surgery
Oh.
successfully, like, and lived for a short time afterwards. Now, again, when all of these things were first happening, extremely, extremely dangerous. So the mortality rate was extremely high when all of it was first going through because they didn't know what they were doing, what to connect. Infections were high rates, which, if I remember correctly, is what takes Lily out. Excuse me,
Okay.
in the movie and in history, is it's actually she gets through the surgery, goes through and becomes a woman, um, but then ends up getting bad infection from it and ends up dying from it, but dies as who she felt she was, finally coming to realization. Again, really well done movie. The the casting phenomenal and so poignant to show like this is where it all came from. This is how it started. This is the stuff that you had to go through in order to get it done. Whereas now it's like, okay, there's still danger involved in it and a lot of high risks, but it's still safer now. There's still room to improve, but they're getting there. It's doing better. So if you haven't watched it, definitely give it a watch.
Yeah, I will. I'll definitely look for it.
Yeah, honestly, it's so worth it. Now, because I'm a lesbian, I have to mention this movie because if I don't, I'm pretty sure the lesbian realm will turn around and be like, "You give back the card, you have to go suck dick now." Have you heard of the movie Carol? It's Kate Blanchett, Rooney Mara, and Sarah Paulson are the main three characters. Now, the very, very short synopsis that IMDb had was an aspiring photographer develops an intimate relationship with an older woman in 1950s New York.
Ooh.
Yep. So, not that it's not a well done movie, it is, and it's very serious, hardcore serious. But one of the things that I loved about it that made me giggle when I was watching it, because I remember pausing it and turning to Mama going, this is pretty freaking accurate, is that Kate Blanchett's character and Sarah Paulson's character are actually exes, but still best friends. I was like, yep, that's accurate right there. So, in the movie, um, Kate Blanchett's character actually woos Rooney Mara's character. She's
Okay.
like, I want to say like she's a young 20-year-old in the movie, and Kate Blanchett is like, well, it's Kate Blanchett. She's absolutely stunning.
The woman
So,
could be 150 and still look like she's in her 30s.
right? I
She's
was just,
Elf. She's
I was just,
Elf.
I was just saying, you can see the elven blood is real in her. Like she has aged like fine wine and then some.
Yep.
But so she's sleeping with the younger girl. She's actually married to a man in it and has her own daughter. But as you mentioned with Stonewall, 1950s New York, it wasn't okay. So she had to hide everything, but they would go away on like adventures together outside of the city. Where it's like, oh yeah, we're just here to like take in the scenery kind of thing. It's a really well done movie. Personally, not my favorite gay movie. Like, I mean, does a really great job showing it. Love that it
Hmm.
shows the history during that period of time. However, my favorite lesbian movie, and this is one that you have to watch because I love it so much, is Imagine Me and You. So it's a movie with Piper Perabo, I think is how you pronounce her last name. Not
Yeah.
100% certain. Uh, Lena Headey, Cersei. Like, just,
Calm down. Do
I'm
you
gonna
need a
need a minute.
moment?
I'm gonna need a minute. Yeah. And Matthew, I'm not 100% sure how to say his last name, if it's Good or Goad, because there's an E at the end. But he's that little skinny fella from, I think he's actually English. But if you've ever seen the movie Leap Year, he was the guy that she ends up with in the end. Another good movie. It's like an anti Valentine's Day movie. It's fantastic.
Ah, okay.
Um, but so in Imagine Me and You, I guess I can be nice and read the excerpt that it gives. Rachel is a nice girl who is going to marry Heck, her long term boyfriend. While she is working on wedding preparation, she meets wedding florist Luce and unexpectedly falls in love with her and discovers what having love feelings for another woman is like. They're amazing, always amazing. Rachel meets Luce a few times, hiding it from her family, especially her mother Tessa, who contracted Luce. At the same time, Heck tries to win his in law's affections, um, especially the father in law, Ned. Rachel embarks on marriage and daily life with her husband, but her love and passion for Luce causes a secret affair between them and doubts in Rachel about the life she wants for herself. So it sounds like it's going to be a hard hitting movie. It's not. I'll tell you that right now. It's actually a lighthearted one.
Okay.
Even though she's a home wrecker, it's actually a lighthearted movie. I love the chemistry between the two. It's just it's It's just adorable. It's adorable. I love it. I don't care that she's a home wrecker and she goes in and steals the straight woman and turns her gay. Like, I love it. I felt sorry for Heck. I mean, it's a little bit sad when he's contemplating walking himself off the roof and a child comes up and holds his hand and goes, "Don't do it, Heck. I love you." Like, oh.
Oh God.
It's like, I guess you gotta step. I guess you gotta step down from that. Like an 11-year-old kid who has a crush on her brother-in-law. It's like, okay, well, in another like 15 years, you let him know that you still love him. Okay, how about we go and do that? But the comedy in it is just the right amount of comedy, the right amount of lightness, and there's just that little bit of love where they're like, okay, they fall into a bushel of roses and get like stabbed in the ass by it as they're making out, heading on towards sex, and they're like, "Oh, well, that kind of ruined the mood there for a second." And Heck comes in. It's like, it's good. It's my favorite lesbian movie out there. I know any lesbians who are like, "You're supposed to love Carol first." I'm sorry. It's Imagine Me and You. It's just, it is. Now for this one, I know you've watched for gay, like homosexual man gay movies, The Birdcage.
Yes.
Love it. So Dana and I, in recent history, took a road trip
Woo!
with my mom and my mom's best friend to go see a play, and it is called "The Cage aux Folles," which I guess actually translates into "The Cage of Gays." I just learned that today when I was trying to figure out how to pronounce it properly. Like,
Imagine that.
oh,
Gays in a cage.
like, yeah, go dancers. This seems right. So it's a gay cabaret owner and his drag queen companion agree to put up a false straight front so that their son can introduce them to their fiance's right wing moralist parents. So it originates, I didn't know this about it, originates actually in 1973. Uh, and the play that we saw was actually the musical version of it.
Okay.
So that's why it was doing the Saint Tropez and all that kind of stuff, is because originally it happened in France. That's what it took place in. Fantastically well done. The music was so good. I was like, oh, I felt that. I felt it in my soul. And it's one of those things. I love the movie and the play, musical, whatever. And somehow we still manage, even when we're not going to drag shows, Dana and I still find drag shows within drag shows at the plays. So no matter what, we're always watching a drag show, I find. But for me, it's one of those things of I love the story of it, but I fucking hate their kid. I want to punch him in the face so bad. When he comes in and he's like, "Oh, you know,
Can you get rid of
yeah, you gotta get rid of him for the day and night. Like, you
and
need to
act
look,
straight?
yeah, you need to pretend to be straight, dad." Even though this kid was literally raised by his gay father and his gay partner, who was flamboyant the entire time since he was born, literally the entire time, had the audacity to come home and be like, "Yeah, so I want to marry this girl whose parents are super, super right wing, like against gays hardcore. And I need you to pretend to be straight." Like, how ignorant can you fucking be?
That's the mentality of some people, though, even today.
Mm-hmm. And just, that's the part that just boggles my mind, because, like, this person literally loved you from childhood because your mom was never around. So the character's mother has nothing to do with them. Literally said, "Hey, here's the kid I birthed it, you take it. I didn't want it."
Damn, I had
And
options. No.
you're like, fuck, I could have given this to my gay brother? God damn it.
I love my kids.
And you're like, just as a disclaimer, I actually do enjoy my children, just so you know. But to come in and it's literally the only two parents you've ever known, and then to have the audacity to add on to your father going, "Okay, not only do you get rid of your husband, pretend to be straight. But hey, I called mom, my birth mother, and said, hey, could you come over and sleep with dad for the night so that you guys can pretend to be straight and be a happy couple? It's like the audacity. I would have told my child to get the fuck out and that I was done with them.
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay on any level whatsoever. I mean, yes, obviously there's the quote unquote happy ending where he finally comes to his senses um, when his stepdad or stepmom, however he wants it, his mother, uh, accidentally whips off her wig and goes, "Oh, yes,
Oh,
I've been in drag the entire time. Oops." Um, but it takes until then for him to be like, "Yeah, this man dressed as a woman is actually my mother, the only one I ever needed." It's like it took you until that point to finally say, "Oh, hey, I love you exactly as you are." Like, that's some bullshit. Kid, you need to go get your head checked. This is some bullshit. Little douchebag. Makes me angry every time I watch it.
some people need that smack across the face with a mackerel. You know what I mean?
Smack across the face with the mackerel.
Taylor,
These are,
Taylor loves my little sayings. I come out
I
with some
do.
good ones.
You have some of the most random ones where I'm like, I like that. I like that a lot.
The lobotomy one last night you really enjoyed.
Oh my god. That was like, she either needs to do this or get a lobotomy. Get a hobby or get a lobotomy. It's like, this is so extreme. Like, oh, here, you should take up cross stitching or take one of those needles and jam them in your eye. You should do one or the other. We don't know which. And I didn't think about it till afterwards with all of my notes that I was doing for like the shows, the uh, TV shows, movies, local history, random facts, all that stuff. I have to say that I love that I'm seeing it more in games now where you get to have the options for love interest. Like before, it used to be if you wanted to romance a certain guy, you had to be a girl and go for it. Or if you wanted to romance a girl, you had to be a guy and then you go for it
Yeah.
in games and stuff like that. I didn't realize until I got older that you've probably never even heard of this game. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, a game made by BioWare. It's a turn based combat game. Phenomenal, like fantastic storyline. Like they had a twist in that game that I never saw coming. I was like, mm-hmm. However, when I was younger, it never dawned on me there's a character in there that you can get. If you get her to turn back to the light side, she comes with you and travels the galaxy. Now, I never realized that when I played a female, like depending on which gender you played, it was either if you were a male, you romance Bastila. If you're a female, you romance Karth. Those were your only options. I didn't realize though at the time until much later on when I happened to accidentally Google it, like going down a rabbit hole. There's a character that when you turn her to the light side and you bring her with you, and you're a female, but you didn't truthfully really romance Karth, you just didn't do a romance per se. You get to a certain part at the end of the game, and she tells you that she has feelings for you, that that's why she's followed you, that she cares about you deeply, all this kind of stuff. It wasn't straight to the point of going, "I'm in love with you." But I can remember watching the scene once I got older, and I was like, you know, that seems kind of weird. Like the way that she's phrasing it seems like it's more than just friends. Sure enough, I Googled, and they actually, that game was from 2002, I think it was. Somewhere around there, around the very early 2000s. And they actually made her the first gay character in a Star Wars video game. I was like, holy shit, so she was coming on to me. I knew it. It's like, I wasn't misreading the signal. She wasn't just a roommate or a friend. We shared bunks. I knew it. But you look at something like that where it was just alluded to, And then you go to their games that they have now, and if you play, for any of the gamers out there who've played any of the Dragon Age games, you get full on fucking sex scenes. I mean, full on.
Really?
Yeah, I was just saying. So in Dragon Age, the first one, it was still like, oh yeah, you'd have a romantic sex scene with like loincloths on and like a fabric top, but you're like down to your nitty gritties. Then you get to the second one, and you're like, okay, there's some closer to some more nudity. And then you get to the third game, and the fourth one, I'm sure, is just going to be full on sex scenes, like full on, like, yeah, go thrust for thrust. Because you get to the third one and you see it all. The only thing that you don't see are penises, but you see full on badge, you see full on tits, you see all of it. And you just go to town and even have the points where you're like, okay, there's one character, they now have it where it's okay. This is a strictly lesbian character, this is a strictly gay character, these ones are bisexuals, these ones are straight, all of that kind of different stuff. These ones are, you just can't sleep with them at all. So now you have different choices and it reflects so much more accurately. And then you have things like Baldur's Gate 3, where you get to pick what kind of genitalia you have, period. You're like, oh, I have a penis. I can make it bigger. I can make it shorter. I can make it hairier. I can make it less. It's fantastic. The way of the future. Ah, but it's good to have all of the representation across everything now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, you stay on movies, we could be here for hours. I don't think our listeners want to be here for hours.
Yes, we promise we won't make this another 2 hour long episode like we did last week.
We're getting close.
We're still shy. It's fine. It's fine. Our listeners are like, my God, how are they this long-winded? Like, we didn't even touch on all of it.
Have you met us?
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly 100%
Well,
it.
we literally have in our podcast bio, we love to chat about everything under the sun. We're not lying.
This is very true. Which, actually, this is not related. This is not related to gay pride or anything like that whatsoever. However, we do have some exciting news
Oh yes.
for our
Oh
listeners.
yes.
I like that you just caught on to it. Oh yes. So last weekend we joined a Facebook group which brings together podcast creators and podcast guests, those who want to come on to podcasts and be a special guest with us. Dana actually put up a post and tagged me in it, asking, saying, hey, if anyone is interested, we have a podcast. This is kind of what we talk about. There you go. Like, if you're interested, comment on here. We'll get in touch.
What
Now,
if you have to offer? What do you have to offer us?
yep. Now, it's not that we don't have confidence in ourselves. Sometimes I have too much confidence in myself. I'm not even going to lie. I'm like, yeah, I'm sexy.
Yeah, we got this.
Like, yeah, I'm sexy. What's up? Sometimes I should probably reel it in. This was not one of those times. This was one of those times where we both talked about it afterwards, and we were like, yeah, I expected like 1 to 3 people to be like, I would like to come on, and that was going to be it. So we were like, oh yeah, we're going to actually have to put together a few episode ideas that we have, and figure what we're going to kind of talk about, and like when we're going to round back to different things, because we want to be able to talk about different topics to show like, okay, we're not just only specifically dark stuff, even though that's what we like. We're going to talk about anything and everything under the sun.
We're very diverse.
Exactly. So she puts up the post. I finally get the notification that you tagged me in it. All of a sudden I get a message from her, and she's like, bruh, you need to go take a look at that post. Like, okay, I'm going over. I'm like, okay, maybe it's a whole 4 people. Nope. Long ass list of it all. I'm going through it. I'm trying to interact with all of them. Like, hi, we'd love to have you on. Message Dana. Hi, we'd love to have you on. Message Dana. Hi, we'd like to have you on. Message Dana. So when I say that we did far better than what we expected, I mean, Dana, thank gods for her, has a notepad filled with the dates of when we are going to have our guests on. And we are officially booked basically every weekend, starting next weekend until November 3rd?
10th.
November 10th.
10th.
November 10th. Until November 10th.
Which at that time, we will have to take a break on taking guests because Taylor will be entering the worst part of the year for work, and I may not see her.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll come back after, like, right before Christmas. We're okay. Hello, is this the world outside? Hello, how are you? So, we are actually booked from next weekend, so June 9th until November 10th. We will be having guests almost every single weekend. There will be a few weekends that she left free for either we want to have someone else on to join, or we want to be able to have the weekend off if we need it, or kind of have like spares around. So that is our exciting news. We will be having guests every single weekend. They will be different topics about different things, ranging from absolutely nothing, where the person just wants to come on and hang out and talk with us. So we have whatever the hell we'll talk about that day. We have filmmakers, voice actors, novelists. What else?
Paranormal. We actually have a lady from the UK.
Oh yeah.
Who writes paranormal novels and does paranormal investigations, and she will be joining us in July. So that was pretty exciting. And we have so many. So many.
It's going to be so many different topics, and I'm so ecstatic about it. I'm excited to bring it for all you guys and for ourselves. 1,000,000%. Like the one with the paranormal activity in her wedding venue. I'm so excited for that. I was like, immediately I messaged Dana. I'm like, we want her.
And I think she's at the end of this month.
I want to say, yeah, I think so. I think
or the middle.
So we have her somewhere in there.
Yeah. She's soon.
Yeah, she's soon. We're coming up soon. So that's our big announcement. That's our woo, we're doing it.
Woo.
So there will be cross promotion between us. Anyone who has promotionable things, they will get tags from us. They'll be put across all of our social medias. We'll connect with all of theirs, all of it. So we want to show our love to anyone and everyone that we can to support, especially all like the indie authors, indie filmmakers, indie artists, indie anything, where you're just like a small little somebody and you just want a little bit of recognition, just something to come your way. We've got you. So I think on that note, I think we'll call this to a close.
We shall.
Happy Pride to everyone. I hope
Happy Pride.
This month is filled with nothing but love. And I will say, remember to always kindly educate people. Don't assume that they know what goes on for Pride or in the gay community. Don't get frustrated with them if they immediately come out and say the wrong thing. Assume that in my case, oh, hey, do you have a boyfriend yet? I don't get frustrated with
Why aren't you married?
Why don't you have kids?
32, you should have kids.
Yeah, exactly. Try to be patient with them and try to kindly educate those that you can. That's my goal basically every day whenever people ask me questions. I'm like, you know what? If you have a question, come to me. I will give you a gay education. There's legitimately a girl that I work with. Every time that we work next to each other, we go on to the topic of the gay community, and I impart what wisdom that I have. And she legitimately goes around telling everyone, going, I learned this. This is what I learned. And she is proud of it and going, I didn't know that before. That's so cool. And it's just legitimate conversation. And that's what I want to spread. I want to spread knowledge and love. That's what I hope others will do too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on that note, I think I'm gonna go watch Bohemian Rhapsody now.
That's a good call.
Because that's a movie I have to watch at least once a week.
Otherwise, you don't get your fix, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Common knowledge, I'm attracted to gay men that play the piano. Elton John, Freddie Mercury, you name it. Except Liberace, he's not on my list.
You're one of the only women that he's not. Like, I mean.
But first, I'm gonna watch episode 4 of um,
Drag Race.
Drag Race All Stars because that was on last night and I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I got to get on that.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk more outside of this. So, happy Pride. Love yourself. Love everybody around you. Open, open your mind to that which you don't understand and learn.
Mm-hmm.
Have a wonderful week.
Ciao.